The illusion of free will is the fact that we feel like a self that is separate from the physical world. There's no self or free will making decisions behind the scenes.
That's terrible. And she said this out loud.
Yeah. She's got a book, bestseller book.
Weren't listening to her say real words. Like, you realize that if that's true, then you're not a self. And then what you're saying is it arising from nowhere. Are you sure that's what you want to go with?
I think I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't know why you're saying it. For her to say, people think that there's a free will devoid of physical reality. I don't think that. I think we have free will within reality. I think that's the whole point of it. So the whole point for me, and this is not written down, so I'm peeling it out of the back of my mind. The basic premise of the writing piece was to give a platform. And although I can't say I explicitly planned what I'm trying to get into now, that was the vibe, I guess. It was the vibe. That was the direction. That was the guiding kind of principle, whatever. So for me, the writing is the boring part. Because communicating the message to me it's almost like a romantic manifesto where Rand is like, yeah, nobody want to sit up and listen to you give lectures all day. And turn it into a story or turn it into a narrative or turn it into a book or a novel. So to me, now I like to try to translate what I'm saying into more of an art form. Not necessarily fiction, anything like that, but just in like, people take ideas and put them into music and it connects better because it's obtuse, I guess I would say. It's not, you kind of get the idea, but if the music is backed by a good idea, then that's good enough for me because it's not supposed to be a lecture through a song. That's not, or a movie is not supposed to be a lecture through a movie. It's just that movie had a good idea behind it, or that piece of art had a good idea behind it. So it's more or less trying to translate in that way, in my opinion.
You see movies like that? Do you ever want to write a story yourself, but to kind of clarify things or highlight some of the points you thought were most enjoyable?
In all honesty, man, no. And I think it's just, the thing is, man, I don't know about you. Sometimes when I'm seeing certain stuff and I'm like, oh, wow, this person has a talent that I don't have. I just don't have that talent. And so when I see good TV, I can enjoy it and I can appreciate it. But I remember I watched a special on Steven Spielberg, and he sees the world different than I see. Some people see the world in pictures, and I understand what they mean, but I don't think that I can write a story in pictures. I can't write a story in pictures like they write a story in pictures. It would just take me so long, and it'd just be all feel. That's all it would be.
I think about that so often. Like, it seems so interesting. Like, oh, that would be really cool. That would be really helpful to be able to take the things I think about and translate it into a story and a picture that other people can understand and see from my perspective. I'm like, that'd be great. To think of all the time I would take, think of the effort you'd have to go through to have to learn how to write and how to shoot and how to convince other people to care. I don't even care this much.
Right. Exactly.
They're not going to be, if they are not willing to exert the bare minimum of effort to understand where we're going and where we're coming from. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that.
No, but if you slow roll it, that's why to me, I'm more or less looking at simple processes, just little small video creation, short videos, stuff like that. And look, you work with other people too, though. It's not like one person writing the script, directing the movie, or acting, all of it. Some people do it. And to me, those, if it's good, they really gift it. But I think it's an art form that I'm not necessarily interested in. I'll just be a fan. I'll just buy your stuff. That's how I feel about it.
Good, right? That's enough. I get it.
Yeah. Or you can influence somebody. Look, to me,
sure,
it seems that, I don't know about more, I can't say recently, but I'm pretty sure it happens. There's always been some intellectual influences behind big movements and people with money. There's always somebody who's lurking around that you probably don't even know their name, but they always at the parties and they always have some influence. Because to me, people just can't go around with no intellectual influence at all.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that's possible, and that's not desirable. I think there are enough things going on where people really want something good to happen, and there are enough people with means to say, I want this particular good thing to happen. I'm going to enlist all the people I find who have skills in this area to say, let's work toward these things getting promoted a little bit more, which is cool.
Because to me, and I would say like this, some intellectual people, good or bad, some of them have a lot of charisma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking about people like, what is his name? Harry Edwards. You know him? Used to play football. I think he was a professor at USC. I think he might have been in the Black Panthers or something like that. I think he's one of like African American studies type people or whatever like that. His name is Harry Edwards.
You're right. Sociologist, civil rights activist.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Somebody like him, or I think it's just, when I really think about, I don't think about it as much because I wouldn't even say he's recent because I've been hearing about him for like 20 years plus. But then when I think about civil rights movement, they were everywhere, right?
Right.
So they was involved with the music and I can't remember what story it was that I was watching. I don't know what it was. It could have been Malcolm X or whatever. But it's just a story of Malcolm X's daughters or something like that. And they were like, look, these people used to come to our house and just be there. It would blow your mind. James Baldwin, there's Malcolm X sitting around, is these poets and writers and intellectuals and all these people, and they just chopping it up. And then I guess your Nikki Giovanni's and all that. And not to say that I agree with all of this stuff, but there are people who I don't agree with intellectually who are, I would say, fall into the intellectual branch. Maybe they push intellectual material. It may be trash, but that's what they're doing.
They're proud because they may be false. They're still smart people who know a lot of things and who actively build upon ideas in a real way.
Right.
All right. I see where you're coming from. I disagree with these ideas. I see where they are. Right. It makes sense. I can follow this. That's a step. I'll take it.
Yeah. Like
at least have a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, and this stuff is so bad nowadays. As you talking, I'm thinking Derrida. I heard some Derrida and I'm like, oh no, this is bad. But I gotta play this, man. So it's this, I forgot her name. Her name is like Amy. What is her name? I think her name is Anne. I don't know. It's in my history somewhere. I guess she's a writer. And I shared this in this group chat with some objectivists. And so you ever heard of Think Big? Yeah.
Magic or just thinking big?
It's a YouTube channel. It's called Think Big or Big Think or whatever it is. And I'm really pulling it up just to say like, oh yeah, they're intellectuals and they have points of views and they can be very bad. So that's pretty much my point. So let me share this one.
The illusion of free will is the fact that we feel like a self that is separate from the physical world, and that this self can kind of swoop in and change the course of history or somehow make decisions that are free of the physical world that we're embedded in. But watching the mind make a decision, you get the sense viscerally that there's no self or free will making decisions behind the scenes, but that in terms of your conscious experience, a decision really arises. And so you can do this simple exercise in the next 30 seconds, decide to either move your toe or your pointer finger. And if you kind of rest in your conscious experience, you will notice that at some point that decision simply arises in your conscious awareness. There's no self who's deciding to make the decision.
So yeah, that's
terrible. And she said this out loud.
Yeah, she's got a book, bestseller book.
Weren't listening to her say real words. Like you realize that if that's true, then you're not a self, and then what you're saying is it arising from nowhere. Are you sure that's what you want to go with? Is this the only way to interpret things? Like, this is what shows how important philosophy is. I don't think I've had to have this conversation with a lot of people, but it's great to have data, but it is super important to be able to interpret it. And the difference between a rational interpretation versus a whatever this is, some sort of irrational guess and just shot in the dark, it's miles apart. It's not science. It's not philosophy. It's not rational philosophy. It's not science, but it's not something that should be said out loud. People should think these thoughts like, oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. That, you're right. Let me keep searching. But instead of that, they're just like, no one can know. That's the answer. Like, but you're part of people. Wouldn't you be? Wouldn't that mean you would know?
Right.
Anyway, it matters. It matters being able to think and reason, and it matters to have a philosophical explanation of what is going on. What is it called when you're understanding data? Help me. What's the epistemology? Now I'm hanging around. Maybe the other one.
That's the knowledge.
But, yeah. You need to know what knowledge
philosophy of knowledge. You're right. I think they just mix it all up. As I'm listening to it, I'm like, I think I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't know why you're saying it. And this is why I always argue with people. Well, I'm going to say argue with, but when people do that thing where they're like, what is the data for reality? Wait, no, that you've gone too far. You've got to set the boundary. That's how our minds work. For her to say, people think that there's a free will devoid of physical reality. I mean, I don't think that. I think we have free will within reality. I think that's the whole point of it, if I'm not mistaken. But then
it's always define free will, what people think of, because they overgeneralize to the point of things being ridiculous. And they're like, you can't magically make this rock different than it is. Oh, we don't have absolute free will. We don't have magical thinking. We have contextual free will, right? We have choices between this actual rational choice versus that rational choice.
Right.
That's the freedom we have, unless we're actively being imposed upon by an outside source like the government or a stronger person, right? We're not. We shouldn't have things out of context. No one says we have absolute free will. That's by definition not true, because that would not be free. If all are outward by anything, then we wouldn't have choices. It would all just be one big plastic world, and everything would just change immediately by willers. That's not reality, right? We have evidence that that's not true. So that's not what we mean when we say free will. We can't mean that. And be serious. I mean, you can mean whatever you want to mean, but it would be true.
I mean, I think some of this is a solipsism/subjectivism issue, right?
Okay.
Because I think people are really just explaining their process, and then they're projecting their process onto others. When I just wish they would just keep their process to themselves. If that's how you want to live your life, enjoy it. Great.
Right.
But stop trying to tell me about how minds work and stuff like that. Shut up, for real. But
or get some evidence first. Like, stop.
But
you
see,
just made it.
But Josh, I'm gonna tell you, it's not an evidence issue. This. If it were an evidence issue, the sole focus of our evidentiary search would be, how do minds work, right? But that's not what we're talking about. And the reason why I say, and this is part of the stuff I'm talking about in the book, this is not really a thing where, I don't know how you get this evidence. Your brain thinks things. Then you think that other people think things that you don't differentiate between you and the other people. And then you just accept it as this thing exists out there. None of this stuff exists out there. Everything I think, everything you think. If 50 people get together, just because they all think similarly, doesn't mean that the thing is out there. These are their interpretation, impressions of the reality that's out there. But there's no thing outside of this physical reality out. There's no meaning attached to any of this stuff. It's just the stuff. And all the meaning comes from our relationship to the physical reality.
Yeah,
So
we make the meeting for sure. I think that is certainly the case out there. And there are certain meanings that we can share. It's not 100% overlap, but there's enough overlap where we're like, hey, the fire is warm. I was cold and I wanted to get closer to the fire. We all agree that the fire is good. Make more fire. Oh, that way we're like, oh, too much fire now. We all agree there's too much fire. Let's put the fire out. It's killing people. That's aside.
yeah, but people take that. That's the misunderstanding of what I'm saying is the evidence is the way the brain works. That's how I interpret it. Because
The brain needs data to work with. If you're going to think, you have to think about something.
right. So but when we say evidence, it's just like any data. You could take data and make stories that aren't actually the right thing.
Yes. True.
So it's not just that evidence. It's not just, that's why I always want to go back to the source. It comes down to decision making. Everything that we're talking about sits within the context or framework of decision making. That's why my focus is in decision making. All rational judgments are within the decision making realm. And I don't have anything, I don't have any control outside of that. Oh, a wave came. Oh, the sun is hot today. All I can do is make decisions. I can't do anything outside of that. And that world doesn't really matter to me outside of that.
It's not relevant. It's like, I can't fix all things. No one's asking you to, but it's also not important.
Yeah. And like you say, people, if they just paid attention, they would notice. But it becomes, you all are not paying attention. And you're trying to convince me of your worldview. And it sucks. But the reason why I bring up this thing, it's not because it's wrong, because it is, and it's not very well thought through because it isn't. It's because this is what people enjoy and this is what is popular, in my opinion.
I mean, it is certainly enjoyable, as it doesn't require anyone to stake a claim anywhere so that they can be called out for being wrong. And I understand the appeal to having the world to be so flexible that there is no definitive boundaries on anything. I think that happens too frequently to say that this is a fluke. I just think it is unhelpful. And when I see it happen more frequently with smart people, it makes me concerned that the standards that we used to have for what we considered intelligent, but also what we considered useful, the standards are being relaxed to a point where I can no longer take what people say seriously. I can't just give them the benefit of a doubt, like, well, they're smart. They went to a Ivy League school, so of course they wouldn't be allowed, or they wouldn't subscribe to a irrational opinion. That would be crazy. But that's no longer a guarantee anymore. I can't make that assumption.
Could you ever make that assumption? I would say because of the temporal, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Because of our lifespan and where we are right now and the things that's important to us right now, it's easy to lose track that the stuff that I read, it's been 200, 300, 400 years. I only want the good stuff. So over the I'm pretty sure a lot of people wrote a whole bunch of other stuff over that time period. But if I just read the good stuff, my whole life will be filled, and I won't get to the other stuff that other people had to sift through or maybe didn't last through the test of time and all of those different things. So I don't want to automatically say that right now is worse than what was before.
I hear you. I think terrible things have always been around. I think I hear people who I thought would be weeded out more frequently in 2025 than I heard in 1989 or 1990. And I think that is a demonstrable change that makes me concerned to say there's been a shift in the things that are allowed into media. Before, there were lots of hurdles to get into media, and we didn't have this ease like we have today where anybody can say anything. And there are a lot of people saying anything they think of and being considered as, I'll even say, being considered as experts. And I don't know how to say it nicely, but it makes me lose respect for like a whole portion of society. Like I used to have more appreciation for the things I would see in media. When someone got on and started to say, this is my talk, I'm going to talk about something, I would have a high opinion of that person. I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they knew what they were talking about, and they would have the opportunity to prove me right or wrong. Whereas frequently nowadays, people have an opportunity, but I get the impression that it is an abuse of my patience. And I'm like, you're wrong. You're really, really wrong. And it makes me angry to have to say you wasted my time. And I have a hard time even then engaging people in conversation. I'm open for conversation, but when they're like, no, I'm on stage and therefore I'm right. I'm like, you use no evidence. There is no reason to your thinking. You're by definition wrong and you don't care. And I don't want to have this conversation. I don't have to prove to you that you're wrong. I don't need to be part of this.
I think that's the right response. But I think what we lack is frame setting. Because what I would say to you is that they are wrong because you have accepted a framework that they don't adhere to, right?
I mean, sure, but like the framework is a objective framework. But yes.
But regardless, it may be a good framework. They still don't adhere to it. That's the point that I'm trying to say. This is the issue. This is the issue that I had with people who don't have any type of moral framework. They could be wrong. They could be right. But there is no rhyme or reason to them being right or wrong. There's no, just think about reason. Reason is just reason to believe. It's like based upon the evidence.
Yes.
And
based upon actual evidence.
But people they're not very, what's the word I'm looking for, about discerning maybe is the word or something like that. But that's fine to me though. So I think the problem that I have is that people don't frame what rationality is well enough, because you have to set a framework for being reasonable. That's the only way you can get to reasonable, because we have an expectation based upon some evidence and we're going in that direction. It has to be has to be reflective. Whereas though a lot of people just winging it. And like I said, if that's how you want to live your life, and just like how you explain, there's no benefit to me with arguing with you about this. I get nothing from this. But at the same time, that's why I always try to limit my actions to something when people doing dumb stuff where it directly affects my life. Because it's, oh, no, wait, what you're doing right now directly affects my life. And we will not have any of this. This is not what we're going to have. So, I just think there's a lack of defining the framework. There has to be a framework. And if you don't operate within a framework, when people say, oh, you're trying to throw me in a box, it's like, whoa, you don't belong in this conversation at all, because reason and rationality is box making. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, and people say a lot of stuff that's kind of true. I wouldn't even say it's kind of true. It's like the artist's take on it, because there are no corners. Everything is a curved line. Everything is somewhat accurate, approximate. And that's cool. I'm good with that, but I don't want to hear that in philosophy.
Right. I mean, there are times you can be less accurate and accept some wiggle room. And I'm like, that's fun and that's funny and that's a way to have your own perspective. I'm open to people starting there. But people, when I need clarity, when I need a specific way, like this is a project, it needs to end at a certain time. It has to fit inside these specific guidelines. I need to know if it's right or if it's wrong. And people are like, oh, it can just be whatever. I'm like, it could have been a lot of things. Yeah. But now we find the goal. Now it has to be the thing that actually gets us to the goal. Well, who knows? Well, everyone, mostly you, but everyone can say we've tried certain things and certain things worked or didn't. Or we haven't tried certain things and now we don't know. And that's a different part. And our goal is in research. But either way, it makes me uncomfortable when people don't even acknowledge the fact that we have certain criteria that we have to abide by to even get to a goal. When the goal is just nebulous And who knows if we're getting there, if we're not getting there, or if it's working or if it's not working. I'm like, oh, whoa. This is not thinking now. We have chosen to go into a wishful thinking mode, which is there's a favorite daydreaming, but it's just not all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I think that I think you already said what the answer is to me to that. Don't engage when it's not directly affecting you negatively or directly affecting you at all, I guess. Because what are you really asking? Because it's almost like me going out policing people and correcting people when they don't. Oh, you said that word wrong. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. You say whatever you want to say. And
I'm like, you can be wrong. I'll allow you to. You're allowed.
Yeah.
I don't have to be here living your life for you.
No, and it's not going to be beneficial to you. It's not going to make your life better in any real way. So, but I think that's why I try to limit my attention to certain things. That's why I'm critical of philosophers who say wild stuff like this woman who has a best-selling book. I'm not just going out there and saying any wild random person. I'll give you an example. I don't know. I probably brought up Charleston White before. Have you caught any of his stuff?
I didn't.
Okay.
Read all stuff.
I mean, he's not a writer. He's just a personality at this point. Yeah, so if you don't know anything about him, I don't know that much about him, but he's a loudmouth on YouTube videos that can get a lot of clicks. I think he says interesting things about Black culture that a lot of people don't want to say, that have some truth to them. But his delivery, I think he tailored the delivery that he thought would hit, and then it did hit. And now he's playing a character. I'm assuming that the character is somewhat himself, but I think he's saying things in certain ways that he thinks is going to land. So he'll be like,
the performance to that sounds like.
You said what?
It sounds like there's an element of performance to that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, he's a comedian too. Well, maybe he turned himself into a comedian. So he got like this goal and hood and helping people, and Black people shouldn't be doing this and shouldn't be doing that, and hoes and gangsters, and he talks about all of this stuff. Now, to me, I don't think it's good enough, but I just say all of that just to say, man, I don't hold him to any type of standard. No intellectual standard. I'd be stupid to get mad over here like, man, what is he talking about? He's saying this and saying that. It doesn't benefit me, But to me, like I said, when you step into the philosophy game, it's different for me because I'm like, you're supposed to be here to do a specific thing, and you're not doing it. And I'm mad now.
Yes. There were things you were here for. There were expectations and things you promised, quote unquote, by being here. And that didn't happen.
No, man. But it's that framework. That's the part that people have to set. It's like definitions. You could use words if we're not going to tie them to definitions. These are just sounds.
These are just sounds. Exactly. You're just making that up. All things are made up. That's how this works. That's how language works. We're making up sounds and referring them to actual things in reality. That's
right.
The only reason we're making these sounds.
Right.
So yes.
Right. Exactly. But that creates a framework, though. That's the thing, because now it's wake up and I go get my toothbrush. But what if my toothbrush looks like a shoe? Is it still a toothbrush, or is it a shoe, or is it? And I'm thinking about it because that's one of the. I think it was in the New Intellectual, for the New Intellectual, and there was some people think you're gonna wake up and your toothbrush is a shoe, or your shoe is a light bulb, or your light bulb is a computer screen, and who could know? Who could know what this thing?
Whoa, that's crazy. But, literally, it's not using reason at all.
But that's the thing, that nothing can be known mentality. That's kind of what she was projecting in the little clip. Nothing can be known.
Anyway, that is almost exactly what she said, and it is the biggest logical fallacy to get up on stage and just say, "Hey, everything that can be said is wrong." I'm like, but you're using words to say this, so isn't that statement wrong as well? Isn't that how words work. I don't know if you should say that then. Like, doesn't that shouldn't you stop yourself before you finish the sentence?
But see, we back to context again, right? Because when we say no, if you have bad context, then you're like, oh, absolute knowledge. But knowledge was never absolute knowledge.
Ever.
It never started never that. So if you have a good framework of understanding, hey, knowledge has limitations. These are the limits. These are the limits that knowledge operates within. You're speaking about a knowledge that really it's not actually even knowledge because you're talking beyond the limits of knowledge. What are you talking about?
What are you saying? Why are you saying it? What do you think happens next?
Good.
Yeah, I get it that not everybody we don't all share the same standard for education or for accuracy as we speak, but it is disappointing when people who not only don't share that, don't share a high level of desire for accuracy, but get out there and say easily disprovable things that are unhelpful, don't move the conversation forward, just end up, if you were going to respond, end up in an argument. I'm like, why do this? This is the question I end up stuck with. It's just like, wait, but this person who was recording them knew that they were wrong. Other people around should have known that they were wrong.
I don't think so, man.
Why did no editing happen? Where was the rest of the help? And this is the thing. I think you're right. I don't think other people are thinking this through. I do not think that they're all like, yeah, we're doing this intentionally. I'm like, I don't think they are. No. I think they're just, the nicest way I can think of it is just like broken. They're just broken. They don't think things through. They don't bother analyzing things, and they don't bother fact checking. They're just like, this is a thing. I am paid to get things out there. I need to get more things. This is a thing I can push. I will push this thing out there. You won't see if it's good or if it's rational or if it's appropriate. No, this is a thing. I am going to put a thing out there. This thing is going to be over there now.
I mean, Josh, for one, man, they don't have much opposition. So that's one thing. The other thing is, once again, I'm not into policing this stuff. People can say bad things. Actually, I could learn from somebody doing or saying a bad thing. It was like,
it's possible.
You said that thing that doesn't make sense. Oh, here is the pattern in people who don't make sense, right? Or I'll tell you, this might be off the topic a little bit. Once again, I watch a lot of police videos, man, and people just have issues, big issues. But here's the thing that I found to be the consistent thing in all of these people who have issues. They cannot manage their emotions. This is the consistent, every single case. Like, the police came to you, they didn't even really say much. You started yelling. They asked you for your ID. You started yelling. They asked you to calm down. You yelled some more and you jumped at the police. Police don't like people jumping at them. And I wouldn't like people jumping at me either as a police.
There you go.
So they subdued you. You yelled some more. This is not helping anything that's going on with you. Nothing. But I guess my whole point is that I don't envision a world where everything is right or good. I'm not looking at that. I'm not looking for that world. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. I don't even want to minimize. I'm not looking to minimize the bad. Like, I guess some people say, I think I might put this in the book somewhere too. It's like some people say, what does they say? I think it's called addition by subtraction. Is that what it's called? I think some people say that. Or no, I think it's addition by subtraction. But in my mind, I'm gonna look at it more like subtraction by addition. And that's what I'm saying. Just put more good out there. Just put more good to the proportion of bad gets diluted. That's my whole approach to it. I never want to be like, oh man, we got to get rid of this and get rid of that and get rid of this and get rid of that. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that just because a lot of times, like you're saying, bad is not just, you said what?
That's cool. Yeah. Addition by subtraction, taking away the bad things so that the rest of the remaining things can improve their performance. That's cool.
Yeah, but I don't believe in addition by subtraction. I believe in subtraction by addition. And it might sound like semantics, but it's not semantics to me because I it's to me like religion. To give an example. Oh, don't do this. Don't fornicate. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't leave your family. There are times that you might need to leave your family or your spouse. So you're saying I understand what you mean by that, but you've given me the yin and the yang at the same time. Just take away the yang or just give me more yang. I guess that's the point that I'm trying to say. If I have more good, then the bad will decrease by proportions. We only got finite time, energy, mental energy and stuff like that. If I have more good, by nature, I have to have less bad. That's just how that works. But when people try to start talking about, oh man, live like this and only do these things and only do, it's too limiting a message and it's not an inspiring message to me. I don't gravitate towards that message because I've seen people be bad because you get highly dogmatic with that message and it's not very accurate all the time either.
Yeah, I mean, there just has to be a starting point. There's definitely room to have some clarity on the fact that while people are saying these things are good, do this, these things are bad, don't do that, there are, there's got to be, we can start there, we can't end there. There's got to be context. I don't love rules that are just saying, this is the one thing you have to do now to the end of time, the end. I'm like, okay, this isn't actually a discussion anymore. You're not giving me clarity. It'd be better for you to tell me a story now. Now you can give me some that. Let me know why you did what you did. Where we, like, what are we talking about, and where was this rule helpful? And it's wild to know that that's not even thought of. That I have to ask this question. It's hard. I don't say unfair, but it is surprising to me that I have to be the one to be like, you should explain yourself. If you explain yourself, maybe I would agree with you and we can be on the same page. This is your job. You're supposed to be making an argument. You should explain yourself. You should be saying that. Give me time to explain myself.
But who do you expect that from, though? That's my question to you. Who are you expecting this from?
All right. I have limited expectations. They just are very few select people who are willing to, who have demonstrated, I will say, the ability to maintain their self-control and not let their emotions just go all over the place, but also people who are both willing and able to demonstrate their thought process, explain their thought process as they go, which is so rare. It barely happens.
So I hear you, right? And I guess my approach is there's room for all of these people in my life. That's kind of how I look at it. That's why for me, I try, if I have an intellectual issue, I only limit it to people who should be filling this role. If you're not supposed to be filling this role, I'm not going to hold you to these standards. That's because it doesn't benefit me in any way. I don't go to all of my friends and say, you should think like, where's the benefit that they offer? If basically putting my stamp on everything, the way I think about everything, I don't see the world like that, right? So there are going to be people who I'm just going to enjoy experientially. I'm not
at a role. They don't all have to have the highest role. That's completely fine.
And I mean, look, when you say the highest, to me, that tells me what you think. Because
value judgment. I'm like, what the thing I really want to do is build a mental model of the world. I am very concerned about that. I really value when I find people who can do that. And that is a value judgment. But then there are other people who don't help me build a model of the world. They may help me work my way through the world and navigate the world or execute the model or whatever. But other people have other jobs. And you're right. There's a lot of roles for other people who do other jobs in life in general. Life is very big. There's a role for a lot of people here.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying. It's just that when I'm trying to, I'm just targeting the people who are supposed to be feeling like you have one job. And this is just me projecting. whoever I'm talking to, you have one job in my life, and I expect you to do that job. You may have little ancillary jobs here and there, but you are a philosopher. You should philosophize, and it should be good. And if it's trash, I'm going to tell you this trash. You know,
anyway, this criteria. If you measure up to this criteria, great. If you fall below it, I will let you know. Hey, you did not achieve the goal. You are here to add to this idea and help us solve these problems, put life in perspective, and give life meaning. You failed at the meaning. You said there was no meaning. That's the whole point. Oh, right. Oh, well, there's no meaning. Then we could turn this talk off. You don't even have to listen to you. Move on.
What it really reminds me of, this is a type issue, man. And Michael Pierce got into this thing before. I don't think I ever brought this up in this group. And did a video, and I think it's called Decide, right? And this is a Heidegger concept. So basically, he was kind of explaining the difference between SI and SE. And what he was saying is that sees themselves doing the thing. And SE doesn't, there's no distinction. There's no, I see myself doing the thing. It's just me and the thing. And it's, what is that other stuff? You know?
That's it. I am fully immersed in the experience doing the thing. Doing the thing is the only thing that is.
Right
Here. The end.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's no relationship to the self.
I mean, all encompassing. It's just
exactly.
Anyway,
it's almost determinism in a sense. It's almost the definition of determinism. In a sense.
Right. I'm right. Well, yeah. Yeah, it is.
So that whole extroversion piece, that's why I say it's a thing about type. People are telling you the way that they perceive the world. That's great.
Yes.
I'm not interested. That's cool. If you want to have, if you are an athlete and you experience the game directly, with no direct thought or whatever, and just you and the ball in the field, and great. But you have coaches. See, they help you to figure out how to strategize. This is not just things just happening at all times.
I mean, they could help you if you listen. Yeah.
So, but, and I don't want to keep reporting it. It's just, repeating it. There's just no need to police this thing, because in actuality, I think good things can come out of it because it's never going to go away. And I don't even want to call it poor thinking. Like, to me, I really believe it's a type issue.
But when it comes to type, everybody has a certain level of ability in every cognitive function. And so I can say this analysis is not finished yet. This analysis only went halfway. And to me, if the goal is analysis, if that was expressly stated as I'm here to do the analysis, I'm like, oh, you failed. You failed at your analysis. I'm open to you completing your analysis, but this is not a complete one. I say this as a person who has just cursorily looked at it and said, I can go farther than that. I know it's not done.
Yes. I get it. But once again, man, my problem is if we look at the world as an evolution, I'm not saying that they're not wrong, but this is what I mean about a framework. This framework did not exist throughout all of human history. It's fairly, you could call it recent still a little bit, I guess. It's like 200 years plus, a little 250 maybe, like 250, a little bit around there, where people created this framework. But you have to help people get there. You have to help people set it. Because people would just be like, no, we can't know anything. This would be the default position, the base position. This would be the childish positions. Like, if you don't teach a child how to know, they'll be like, yeah, this is how this works. We just do stuff. This is how I live life. I just do stuff. And there's no reference to anything, any knowledge in this, that, and the other. And so I guess my whole point is that just never forget that, and I don't think you do, but never forget that you operating within the framework. That's why the framework is so important. Because you basically saying, hey, I have a framework and you don't. And that's makes me say what you're saying is nonsense. It's kind of the reason.
It's in the idea of critical thinking, I'm using criteria. You're not. So only one of us is thinking critically by definition.
And consistent criteria. It's a lot of times it's not the issue that people aren't using criteria. They're using what's the word I'm like?
Criteria consistently, and that's leading to this.
Conflicting criteria. Hey, some days we go up and it's like this, and some days we could just I wish I had an example, because people say things that can't go together. It can't go together. And what you start to see is that, oh, they're making however they feel at this moment. Like, all right, I'll give you a perfect example. When a person argues with you and you start to notice that they aren't trying to make an argument, they're not trying to be right here. They're trying to win the argument. So wherever they think that they can get you with a gotcha, that's where they're going to go. And it doesn't have to relate to the last thing. And if you say, hey, this thing that you just said doesn't connect to the last thing that you said, and they'll just go to the next thing and just say, well, what about this and what about that? It's like, oh, you're trying to tire my mind out by running around with nonsense. No, I'm done.
We're playing a different game. Okay. We can stop now.
But people still.
No, you're wrong. And we're not, we've agreed to disagree. Let's play a different game. You've chosen to change the rules of the game. I'm not playing this game. Let's do a different game.
But people are skilled at that stuff though. That's the thing.
They do. I mean, because those rules are so different than you are able to just, I put it nicely, you're able just to lie. You're able just to lie your way into quote unquote and desired end, like to the desired point. Like you can just say, this is what I believe and therefore I'm right. I'm like, all right. So you have chosen not to play the same game. And I have chosen not to play this game at all. You chose not to play this game the way I'm playing it. Okay. We are no longer helping. We're not working on the same team anymore.
True. But see, there's also another way to win, is to have you think about nonsense for an extended period of time.
I could have it.
And when a person starts trying to police everything and everybody else, is just like, to some people, it's like, I can get this dummy to keep spinning around and around and around. And he wants to correct me so bad that he's wasted his life to correct me, and I don't care. This is a dummy.
It's true. Like, this is their weakness. They will do this the rest of the time. Look at this.
Yes. Because people get so frustrated trying to correct others. And like, I understand to a certain extent, even the motion itself. The motion is bad. Even if it could be good, I've seen it do it with bad stuff. I wouldn't say bad stuff. I've seen people do it dogmatically from a faith-based, non-evidentiary position before. Mm-hmm. And they love to do it that way. You should do this. This is how you should live your life. People don't do this. People don't do that. Why are you wearing a skirt like this? Why are you walking around like, and people put people in classes like, oh, this woman wore a skirt above the knee. That's a hoe. And this, like, wait, y'all have these quick flippant judgments about every little thing. There's no nuance here, but all you have is some reference point that you just classifying people with. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's not consistent. I'm just like, where's the life beyond these stringent little positions that you have? These are not even your positions.
You know I'm so hard on this. What are we doing? What are you doing? You can't ever live their life. What? You can't ever live their life for them. How is this ever going to help? Is that not even the goal? Maybe it's not even the goal.
I don't think so. When you go to like a football game, when you just be walking down the street, man, you are the people outside with the bullhorn, like, yo, y'all out here sinning. Come to Christ, blah, blah, blah. Like, y'all just came here for a hot dog and a beer, and you're telling me that I can't even enjoy that. How is your message that good? How is your message that good that I can't have a hot dog and a beer?
Right? How is it helping? Where are we doing this? Why do you think this is appealing? It's crazy to consider that this is what this person thinks is helpful. Like, what are they? In what world is this helpful? Who is this helping? How could it be helpful? I don't know how it could be helpful.
It's that, to me, when I think about it, the immediate thing I get is introverted irrational. Introverted or rational. Did you check out, because I know I sent you the Jungian channel. You check out anything from this channel?
Maybe that first, maybe the intro video.
Okay.
Not a lot. I'll go with no. I can't recall anything.
Okay. No, because he started getting into intuition and introverted intuition. Basically, he breaks it down. He's just like, yo, it's these things, these people that are kind of to themselves, they have their own little framework, and everything is like an impression or a sensation. Or so one example he used is like a difference between a sensation type and an intuition type. And he was saying, who do you think would respond to whatever stimuli first? You would think it would be the sensation type because they're looking at evidence. But he was like, the intuition type, he's relating all of these other little pieces of information that they don't necessarily, I wouldn't say that they directly perceive, they indirectly perceiving, and then he's just jumping to conclusions. I can't say everything he was saying. He's just like, the intuitive person probably responds faster because he's it's not projecting. He's I don't know. I forgot. I don't know what that word is.
What's going on, or what do you think?
He's what?
You think he's making inferences about what's going on, and like
that's exactly what he's doing.
Yo, I think that's like as long as the intuitive person has seen this before, that
something similar to that thing.
That's fair. That pattern can program his gut, and so like, I operate by my gut. I just have a gut decision. It's my gut reaction. Boom, boom, boom. And that person can respond faster than anything else. It's funny to me because I didn't realize that was happening earlier on in my life. And people are just good at things. Like, oh, he's just good at running. He's just good at basketball. He's just good at math. And then later on, I'm like, they've been practicing something like this their whole lives. And someone's like, hey, what about this thing? They have an actual memory bank to refer to say like, oh, that doesn't work over here, but it definitely works over here like this. I bet I could try the thing that worked before. Whereas I had nothing to pull on. They're just like, listen to your gut. Follow your gut. I'm like, oh, I don't think that's going to work for me. I'm going to have to probably like learn what's going on. I'd actually learn a lot faster if you would tell me the context of what it is that we're doing. Like, just follow your heart. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. Demonstrate what it is you're doing, and I'll probably be able to copy some of it, but I'm definitely not going to do it just, mysteriously in the beginning. I don't know how that's going to work to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was wild to me to know that was what was going on. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to need to do something to get that same experience, to get that same knowledge some other way.
I mean, everybody has to have certain levels of it.
You have to. We all start from somewhere. I just did not realize that when people said they had a gut reaction to something, that meant they were experienced in that area.
Yeah. I mean, is it that? Yeah, that's how that works. That's to me is like.
It has to be.
Yeah.
There's no other knowledge coming down. Just like, oh, well, now I understand this. I'm like, I don't think they do understand it. No.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee for accuracy here at all.
Also, I followed my gut. Like, yes, but then you drove off a cliff. So maybe less of that.
Yeah, I mean, they work hand in hand. I think I train my gut. That's kind of what the whole thinking process is to me, is training your gut. So when you get into a crunch time moment, it's just practice. That's what it is. It's, hey, practice. This is how I should step. This is how I should move. Then when something actually happens, it's just what people call second nature.
You go.
So, but yes, the intuition. But I guess my whole point in bringing that up is just that Jung was also talking about how these people just have these elaborate internal lives that they don't really reveal to anybody. The way that they are perceiving the world, the way that, like he was saying, it's like, man, if they were to tell you the stuff that they actually thinking about, you would be freaked out.
Yes.
To me, this is why introverted intuitives, like, man, it's just so many pieces. So it's like even the whole irrational part of, so introverted intuitives is an irrational. And at the same time, I feel like they can have good logic, but their logic has no boundaries. They can get to what they call, I guess this is another Heidegger thing, metaphysical wish, which is this, I forgot how they explain it, man, but it's just more of it's a faith thing. That's kind of, it's faith with no necessary, no concrete, consistent, is a correlatory word? I don't know. Correlating evidence. But see, there is an evidence. Just like you're saying with these things, it's just not a consciously laid out thought plan. It's just an experience that I had that I'm just going to apply because I've got this experience. This experience is giving me the answer. What was the answer? I can't tell you the answer. It just gave me the answer. And I'm like, well, if you can't articulate it, then we're talking different languages, in my opinion.
Right? Well, you're not even on the same page yet. You don't know what page it is. If you don't know, I can't tell you what it is. I mean, it's your word. This is your conversation.
But at the same time, I respect it. I understand a person can live like that. This is what I meant about there are different places in my life for different people. You can do amazing things with that mentality. Just don't tell me how to think. That's what you don't do well. You don't think in articulating well at all.
You've not spent time self-reflecting enough to confirm any of the things you're thinking. You don't have to give me an explanation at all. I don't need it. You don't, as you said, it's not something you're good at. And that's fine. You don't have to be good at every single thing in the world.
Right. And they could, like, I don't know about you, but I've been around people who don't think very well, very consistent at all. And then they'll say something that's profound. And I'm like, how did you say that? I'm thinking this, but I don't say it. I'm like, wow, that was very enlightening.
Right? That's insightful. Look at that. Huh. Yeah. Good job. More of that, please.
But once again, man, I just don't. There are buckets for people, for me, and they don't have to sit in those places. Like, I'm just not that strict with it. That's all I'm saying. I don't think about it. When people start to irritate me, like I had people in my family who will do what I said before, be wrong, and you catch them being wrong, and they just go to the next thing. Oh, I'm not going to keep following you around like this. So maybe I'm trained in this. So maybe I can I recognize what's happening here, and I refuse to relinquish my time, or I'm going to reclaim my time. I'm not participating in this. I'm not complicit in this, and I'm not going to entertain them. I'm not going to be their entertainment. So, and then I feel like we have a good time because I'm just not going to engage with that certain type of stuff. So, but
yeah, exactly. I think that's huge and very helpful to recognize, and then have a quick go to. All right, this is how I'm going to handle this, so I can move on. I have a whole life to live. I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Check and done.
Yeah, man. That's because that's the win, man. Like, I think, so I started following Gad Saad not too long ago. You know him, right? I think it's his name. Gad Saad.
I don't think I know.
Oh, okay. I think he wrote this.
Oh, Gad Saad, Canadian marketing guy.
Oh, he's a marketing guy? I didn't know.
Right.
I know he wrote this book. I think it's called The Parasitic Mind, something like that.
Yeah. Infectious something. How infectious ideas are. And it's awesome. I might have to put that on the list. That's a good one.
Yeah, but he was just saying there's no limit to human stupidity. It's a bottomless pit. The more you give to it, the deeper it goes. So you have to get out. You have to stop digging. That's the way you can get your time back.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Nice. Yeah, that's good.
I'm trying to see if I can find. I don't think I'll be able to find it. But these are type issues, man. That's why learning about type to me helped me not engage.
There you go. That's smart. That's what is needed. It's what's necessary. It's what's helpful. Yes. Excellent.
I'm trying. When I talk to you, I'm like, why is Josh mad about this thing? You know, why does he want someone he knows doesn't think very deeply to think very deeply? Why does he want?
Yeah, like when I look around the world, I want everybody to do what I'm doing. What I'm doing is what I like. And I want more of what I like. You do it too. And it's like, but I'm not good at it. We'll try anyway. Try really hard, and we'll see what happens. Like, it's not going to work. Like, we haven't tried yet. You don't know it's not going to work. No, I have. A whole life I've tried. I've not been good at it. It's not getting better today. Like, I'm going to hold you to my things I did for myself and see what happens. It doesn't work out great. No, it never has. Each time. Lesson.
But yeah, man, enjoy what you can in those things, man.
No.
I don't know. I just think there's a way to. I think it's like level climbing. Every time I'm having a conversation, it's almost like an accordion. I'm rising to however far I can get. Then once I find out what the peak is, and that person is stressed, or I wouldn't say stressed, but you've reached their peak. They can't go beyond that. Bring it down just a little notch. Just to, like, my goal is effective communication. My goal is not to go over anyone's head. It's not to dumb the conversation down from the outset, but it's about communication on a level that's acceptable for me.
Right.
If it's too low, I'll just go. I don't have a problem with going. But a lot of times, what I find is that people just have never been challenged in that way. And I find a lot of times they do like to be challenged, and sometimes they don't. And I don't go beyond where I need to, but I definitely am going to push the envelope a little bit.
Right.
So
it's cool. I mean, it's good to challenge people to the ability that they're able to participate. And, when you find that place that you're getting all this pushback and you're no longer being productive, you're like, all right, I guess we've reached as far as we can go. Let's move on.
Because, yes, I'm trying to find this Heidegger video, because I don't think it was long, but I don't think I'll be able to find it. But what else is there? It's fires in California. It's political change about to happen. TikTok is about to get banned, I guess.
Right? It's crazy. People are really going to use the other options. It's funny. Like, there's a Chinese TikTok that people are actively using just to spite the government. I'm like, when you're just treading off your nose to spite your face, right? You get that. You're opening worse up to worse outcome. It's like, well, the government doesn't want to do this because of the worst outcome. Because of the worst outcome, they don't want you to do it. It will make your life harder. Well, I mean, the people who've done it, they seem to know. Why would we want to change that? And I'm like, you would want to change that. You would want to do that because, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think we just got to see what's going on.
It's going to be interesting what go on. I'm very interested to see how people navigate that whole process.
You mean for TikTok?
Yeah. That's one of those. Social media could change drastically if we don't make wise choices. And I don't see people making wise choices, man. I just don't see it.
What's your take on social media? What's your take?
I think social media is a super helpful tool to effectively build your tribe, find your tribe, and get your message out there. But I do not see it used that way. I don't see it used well at all. I see it used in ways that make me uncomfortable. And anyway, sometimes, rarely, it is used a way to effectively help a certain segment of people. But that is not the most common use.
I don't know. I think like internet because it's liberating. Social media, I guess. I mean, is everything social media? It's not all social media, I guess. I don't know. But I think it's liberating. I think it gives. I don't want to look at the bad results of it because I just think that that's the fault of the people. I don't think that's the fault of social media.
Well, I mean, no. It's clearly, this is a tool. Some people are using it great. Some people are using it poorly. But it's clearly a people problem.
Yeah.
Blame the tool for the fact people can't figure out how to use a hammer. I'm like, it's not the hammer's fault. Clearly.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, the issue to me is the FCC thing, right? Where the government try to declare social media a public platform or whatever it is, or whatever this platform, a news platform or something like that, where they gotta regulate it in some way, shape, or form. And it creates confusion to me because, so I'll just explain how I've seen it. Like, people wanted to get into social media. They're like, hey, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, you people need to do stuff because people are saying stuff on your platforms and we don't like it, so you should do stuff. And then
right.
Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg are like, whoever is like, you should pass laws, and then that way we could do the stuff that you want us to do, instead of us just paying money to do stuff that we don't know what the hell the benefit of it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I think they kind of had a discussion, and it's just, no, you should just do stuff because you could really get in trouble here. No specific consequences, no specific thing that you could break, but there are things that you could do that could make us upset to come after you, and you should just do stuff.
Right. I threaten you. General vague threat will so they get in your way, and so therefore it's going to get my way. Like, I don't think that works at all. I'm going to threaten you until you come up with a creative solution to my problem. I don't think that ever worked for anybody. I wouldn't recommend doing that. No, I believe it very strongly, and therefore it matters on how this works.
But then there was an element of, oh yeah, we're going to get these fact checkers, put all of these. If you put something out, we're going to post it on it and say, hey, this is not accurate, or this is false, blah blah blah. And then you had all of these random people, and so this happened. But then recently, you kind of hear Mark Zuckerberg like, yeah, that might not have been a good idea because these fact checkers kind of went rogue and were fact checking things with a kind of a slant on it.
Right.
And I'm like,
Everybody's got
who didn't know that this was going to happen if that was
that the only answer? The people with bias that come up there and say their bias out loud? Right?
So, but to my earlier point though, their bias is a result of their frameworks. When you see this thing a certain way, you're going to say, oh no, this thing isn't completely accurate because, and then you insert some interpretation for a fact. That's kind of how that works. But so the reason I was just say go through all that little timeline, because we didn't have to waste our time with this. This is not, you could say, okay, we had an evidence-based conclusion. We already had evidence before we got new evidence. There was old evidence that told us that this was what was going to happen, but we didn't have to do this song and dance again. You just need to mind your business. The government needs to mind their business in some ways. And I don't know if you caught a little bit that speaks to, I don't know if you caught, at some point in time, I guess when Don Lemon got fired, Twitter or X gave him a show on X.
He did. That was crazy.
And then he interviewed Elon Musk. And, and then Don was asking these questions. And he was like, don't you think we should take down some? He's saying these random things. He's like, you should take this down. You shouldn't let that be on your platform, right? And then Elon was like, what you're saying is you want censorship. You're a big censorship guy. You want everything censored. The way
that's awesome.
But the way he was it's so funny because the way he's saying it is like a joke. But at the same time, Don Lemon is saying this thing and he cannot grasp what he's saying. He's like, no, I'm not saying censorship. I'm just saying there's certain stuff that you want to take down, right? It's like, oh, you just want to be, you got to see it. I almost had to pull it up, man, because it's funny. It's like a comedy skit.
But you can be F5 the line. I think it is, that happens. People care about things and that is all they see. And I didn't fully realize the depth of that until I heard another INFP talk about it. And I was struck. I was just like, no, there's no way anyone would believe that their world is all there is. And then this one lady said, I look at the world and the world is just a giant mirror, right? Everything you see is just a giant mirror. I'm like, oh. No, fooling me. You really believes this? The world is your mirror? Like, look at there are people in it. Am I your mirror too? What is happening? I just didn't believe it. I was naive. You think it's their human being if you be this difference, but they do believe it.
Yes, that's true. But Josh, let's be real. Everybody believes it. Everybody. This is the reason why people get mad when people say stupid things. That's what I mean about, it's like it's your glasses. It's the tint on your glasses. Look, everybody has glasses. It's just, to me, some people have a better understanding of their glasses. But
I think everybody has bias, but everybody believes the world reflects them to a degree. But to think that, to really believe wholeheartedly in solipsism is that takes a special kind of person. We all have a certain degree of, my perception of the world is all there is. And so, yes, I believe we people have that perception. But to believe that the world is not even real outside of the things you observe, and that even the things you observe are really just reflections of what you think about the world, I'm like, I mean, that's excessive to the point where I'm like, I don't know, man. That can't. There shouldn't be that many people who are sold on that idea. I don't know how else to say it. I'm like, no.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think some people say things. Like I said, man, if it's just a regular layman saying things, I don't know that they know what they're saying sometimes. So I don't take it like, this person said that.
So maybe they don't mean what they're saying. Maybe it's just like,
that's the point to me. That's the whole thing. You get what I mean. You feel me? That's why people say, you feel me all the time. You get what I mean?
I got you. That makes me feel a little bit better. I'm like, they can't possibly, not everybody, but yes, I hear you. They have not thought through what they're saying to that degree. And so people don't always have that same kind of meaning of like, yes, this is definitely happening. It's frequently, or just this is generally what I feel is happening. I'm like, okay, well, that's not the same at all.
It's just like the one time I went to a talk, and I'm just saying, because of my framework, because of the way I look at the world, saying that you do the things that you want to do. And this lady's like, no, that's not true, because I do things I don't want to do all the time. And I'm like, this is a personal problem. It's like, I didn't want to do that thing, but I did it anyway. And that's what I mean about the framework. The framework is judgment, conscious judgment. Yes, if you don't consciously do the thing that you want to do, like, yeah, you did something that you I guess were consciously against, which is kind of like, I don't know how to explain it.
But there's a difference between feeling that you enjoy doing the thing versus there's a difference between wanting to do something because you enjoy it or wanting to do something because you think it is the best of your bad options. And that's a very different approach. And so people are like, oh, I don't do what I want to do. I'm like, no, you misunderstand. You always do. You always have choices. And so if you did something, you wanted to do that choice. Even if it was a bad choice, it was in your mind, it was the best of all your bad choices. And so you chose to do that thing. You didn't consciously sit there and dwell on all this. You just made a split second decision and went with it. But that was your reasoning, and that's why you did it. You wanted to do this thing. No one held a gun and acted in your place. You did it. You did that thing. And even if they had a gun, the gun was your motivation. You chose to do the thing you did more than death. See, you wanted to do something.
Let me ask you this question, though. Do you recognize what you said? Not that I disagree. Requires the whole framework, though.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. That's all I'm saying. Is because people can say, you're arbitrarily saying that. How can you come to that conclusion? I come to the conclusion because I'm using a framework of judgment.
Yes.
Because there's no, and this is the thing that never concludes these conversations between the lady that says we don't have a self and a will or whatever, free will. There's no evidence that really can conclude this argument. We just have to adopt. You're either adopting judgment or you're not. That's what I mean about the framework, the glasses. Hey, when I see the world, I see people with choices making decisions. You put on glasses that say people are determined they don't have any choices. They just have to do whatever that they can. I don't accept that world. I don't accept that framework. I don't engage. We can't, to me, there's no way to prove one or the other. That's how I look at it. Hold on. Let me take a step back. My bad. I think I misspoke real quick. It's not that you can't prove one or the other because they're talking to you. So obviously they're trying to use their judgment and choice. But I guess from a Kantian standpoint, I think that the argument more or less is that, hey, there are physical circumstances, there are societies, there are all these things that influence your thinking, your upbringing, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, you can't think outside of these influences when people who are thinking correctly don't. That's not what we're saying. But my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's what I wanted to add to it.
That is the point. I think there is evidence to use as long as you are willing to use the evidence. And I think that is something that has to be agreed upon on the outset. Like, do you agree that the objective world exists? Like, no, like, that we don't need to talk about evidence anymore. I'm just going to move on and we could talk about something else in a different way, because it's not, if you're unwilling to say that there are things outside of your body that we can both see and that we both can't change, and that has to be accepted as the natural world. If you're like, nope, I don't believe that, I don't think that, I'm like, then we're not even using evidence anymore. Meaning I'm using evidence, what I call evidence, and you haven't agreed about what evidence is. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's move on. Let's do something else.
I mean,
like, when you're having a conversation anymore, if you're not going to accept the language. And I don't.
I get that part, Josh. But see, when we go to the evidence part, there's at least, and I'm using the framework for understanding, Jung's framework.
Right.
You can be objective, but what place does the object hold in your life? So, because to me, being objective, just like all encompassing, when we talked about SE versus SI, if the object is the thing that determines, then that's not the framework that I'm using either. Like, yeah, you're looking outside, you're looking at an object. He's like, oh, look at this object. We got to do this thing because this object exists. No, I am the primary. The self is the primary. The object is there. I get to choose about the object. The object doesn't determine. And there are people who are, that's TE. That's TE, that's FE, where the object, and I'll say TE more than FE really, because FE is a little different with it. That's the, hey, here's this object and we must do this thing because, hey, money is out here, so we have to go get it. The job is out here, so we have to go do it. No, I don't have to do anything. They're being objective, but they're not, the object determines their choice, not their choice engaging with the object. You understand what I'm saying? So just being objective is not a thing that, yes, you need to be objective to be thinking, but you can also get lost in objects too when you think the object determines.
You can. That's true, and that happens. That happens a lot. People can certainly get lost. And they do get lost.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the whole point of kind of what I was writing in the book as far as extroversion. Because really, when I'm talking about extroversion in the book, I'm not really talking about it from an irrational standpoint. I'm talking about it from a rational standpoint. I'm talking about TE and I'm talking about FE when people, and really TE specifically, because FE I just throw in the F bucket, period. But TE is like, okay, yeah, we're going to be objective. We're going to use some logic, but it's not my judgment really about the object. It's the object. What's the word I'm looking? It's intrinsicism. It's intrinsicism. The value exists in the object. The value is out there. It's not in my relationship to the object because the object determines the value from the beginning. And that's not a valid approach to me. But I think if we were to just say, hey, no, we're going to base this on evidence. And if we're not talking about evidence, we're not talking about the same thing. No, it's a specific attitude towards evidence for me. That's how.
Okay.
That's more specific.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. That's for sure. You definitely have to have that. Well, definitely makes sense if we're going to have a shared worldview, shared perspective, then we need to at least have a shared attitude towards evidence. Otherwise, what we look at, we're going to interpret very differently.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make to you. That's the framework. Those are the glasses. Because we can, if we follow Jung's framework, it's like, oh yeah, everybody's using reason to a certain extent. These are different ways to use reason. And this is what makes it tight. This is what makes the way you look at the world. This This is your framework. That's cool. But that's the kind of point that I'm just trying to make. And I'm really trying to go through those different frameworks that he presents and say, hey, this one is this good when we're talking about that. This one is that good when we're talking about that. This one is that good when you're talking about that. And put them in certain orders. But I do think a lot of times that's the scientist's flaw, the objectivity. At
least assuming.
You say what?
At least making that assumption that everybody else has that same shared perspective or value for evidence, what they consider evidence.
But here's what, and this is going to sound probably confusing. Here's what the religionist, spiritualist understands that the scientist doesn't understand. Science lives within life. Life doesn't live within science. Life was here before science got here.
There you go.
I didn't start living just because you researched it and figured out, oh, a person lives. See, now we have these data points. I didn't need data points. I was already here. So, but my problem is that in knowing that, people detach from science, thinking that science is devoid or life is devoid. I wouldn't say life can be devoid of science. You don't have to accept it. But science is a good thing because it has helped our lives. That's the only reason science is good. If it didn't do that, then I would be like, look, fuck that science. I don't care about that science.
True. It's true. It's knowledge, and it's that knowledge that actually is useful and helpful. If it wasn't useful and helpful, then it would not be desirable knowledge. It would just be a fun thing to think about. Oh, this also exists. I'm like, yes, but does the thing that exists help? That's the part. I only want the helping part.
Good. And now you got a lot of scientists and research who really, maybe this is a flaw of their mentality, but there are a lot of people who think science first. Like, hey, look at this data. And one of the one things that I can't remember what book it was from, but I like when Rand put it in some book. She was like, now you got these people out here who says New York doesn't really exist because 63% of people took a survey and said it doesn't exist. New York really doesn't exist.
Maybe we were lied to the whole time.
But this is how you get, when you get that objective mind where it's like, oh, well, 7 out of 10 scientists says that global warming is a thing. That's why people love to attach numbers to things. And it's not to say that, I'm not trying to say that numbers are bad at all. What I'm saying is that if you don't set this information in relation to your life, then don't talk to me. If the science is up here and you're down here, you've got a problem. You've got an issue. And then
you gotta get to where the knowledge is before you start saying we have conclusions. I'm like, we don't. If you don't know what the data is, you can't have conclusions yet. You need to get the data first.
You definitely can't handle conclusion if you don't understand what the purpose of science is. Science does not, it can't dictate. It just helps. And if it's not helping, it's just trash. That's what
they're only here to inform you. If you are uninformed, then you have not reached the point where you get to say, oh yeah, this is what it is and how it's working. And like, you don't know what it is or how it's working. So.
And you don't know what it is and how it's working because you're not relating it back to your life or a life, but more importantly, your life.
Right. It isn't applied yet. Therefore, it can't be useful.
Go ahead, man. I got one thing that I want to ask you, but I want to pull up a couple. I mean, just a quick part of this video because I might have to get out of here in a second. But I wanted to show you because this was comedic to me, man.
Or if there was better content moderation on the platform that you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the great replacement theory as it relates. I don't have to answer this question. Great replacement theory as it relates to Jewish people. Do you think that
I don't have to answer questions from reporters? Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
Possibly, I could care less.
You don't care?
No, I don't. Why not? I don't think people should care what the media thinks about them. They're terrible judges of character.
Even someone who has one of the biggest social media and biggest information platforms in the world, you don't care? You don't think that you have any X.com or you have any responsibility to the truth or moderating the platform?
You're conflating the truth with the media, and I think the media is not truthful.
Well, not with just the media. I mean, just the truth in general.
I care about the truth very much. That's why we have, for example, community notes on the X system, where in order for a community note to surface and provide corrective information about what somebody posts, and my posts are equally subject to this. I've been community noted many times. In order for a community note to surface, people who have historically disagreed must agree in order for a community note to surface. And all of the code for community notes is open source. All of the data is open source, so you can completely recreate it from scratch. The way to build trust is transparency.
I have noticed community notes. I think that you are right about that, and I do think community notes are helpful. I think any type of content moderation, I do think that's helpful. You recently called content moderation, though, a digital chastity belt. Do you think that you believe that X and you have some responsibility to moderate hate speech on the platform?
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law, and we have a responsibility to be transparent about when things are shown, why they're shown. That's why we open source our algorithm. I think once you start going beyond the law, now you're putting your thumb on the scale. And we don't want to put our thumb on the scale.
It doesn't concern you that hate speech has gone. Research shows that it's gone up on the platform since you took over. That's not concerning to you?
I believe that is false. In fact, the research that I've seen says it went down.
The study from the Institute of Strategic Dialogue found that anti-Semitic tweets doubled from June 22 to February 2023. One study reported that as many as 86% of the posts reported for hateful content remained up after being reported. Hate speech on the platform is up.
So what they will typically do is they will count the number of posts, but not count the number of views. So what matters is, was that post given high visibility, or what did like one person see it? And if you look at the number of views of how many times was hate content viewed on our platform, it is down substantially.
Yeah. Well, that's not was what the study shows. And you said you like transparency. I'm going to show you this, and
Don, you can get a study that will tell you whatever you want.
These are just a handful of extremely. You look at those anti-Semitic and racist tropes and tweets, easy. And as of this morning, they're still on that. And from your own content policy, these posts should have been deleted. So why haven't they been deleted? Why are they still there?
We delete things if they are illegal.
But these have been up there for a while.
Are they illegal?
They're not illegal, but they're hateful, and they can lead to violence. As I just read to you, the shooters, in all of these mass shootings, attributed social media to radicalizing.
So, Don, you love censorship, is what you're saying?
No, I don't love censorship.
Then why are you asking?
I believe in moderation, but I don't believe in
censorship. Moderation is a propaganda word for censorship.
But don't you think free speech is one thing, right? Or not?
Look, if something's illegal, we're going to take it down. If it's not illegal, then we're putting our thumb on the scale and we're being censors.
You're putting your thumb on the scale for moderating hate speech. I mean, you don't put out child pornography. It's illegal. Some people would say that's considered censorship. I'm just saying
No, I literally, Don, I literally said, if something is legal, okay, we will obviously remove it.
Okay.
But if it is not legal, if the laws in this country are put forward by the citizens, we're a democracy. If those laws are put in place by the people, we adhere to those laws.
Okay, I agree.
Of others. If you go beyond the law, you're actually going beyond the will of the people.
Okay, agreed with the law. But if you are doing something that promotes hate and violence and ultimately leads to killing, you don't feel you have any responsibility not to do that? When the people who are doing it admittedly are saying
those articles all the time that lead to violence and killing. Don't they? Shouldn't they? It's like you're applying a differential standard to.
But that would never be in mainstream media. These types of images, that type of language, those things would never be. We'd never. When I was in mainstream media, we'd never promote things that would be anti-Semitic. We would never promote things that would
either.
Did you not see those?
You said promote. If content is on the platform, that doesn't mean we promote it.
But that wouldn't be on a platform for mainstream media at all.
No, but you can think of that. That's because the mainstream media has like, 20 articles a day. We have 500 million posts a day.
Okay,
500 million.
Does it bother you? How do you feel about that when you see it?
I obviously disagree with that. I think it's not good at all. It's terrible.
But you don't want to get rid of it on the platform, or at least moderate it.
The rules. What you're suggesting is censorship that goes beyond the law. And what I'm saying is I guess have a disagreement, because I do not believe in censorship that goes beyond the law, and you do. We have a difference of opinion in that regard.
I understand that, But these are your own rules on your own platform. These go against the rules on your platform. That's why I'm asking you. If you said, listen, we allow everything, but that's not what your content rules say. And that's why I'm asking you, why are they still there? Your own content policy. That's why I'm asking you that, not because...
Which part of our content policy says that we should delete these things?
Your content policy talks about hate speech.
Yes, we don't promote hate speech.
And so you don't consider that hate speech?
I guess you're not understanding what I'm saying. There's if there's you can find like you can sign up right now and do 100 things that are hateful. But if nobody reads it, it doesn't matter. So you can think of X as being, it's much like the internet. It's not some tiny publication with like 20 articles a day. It's 500 million.
But everyone has the opportunity to read it, Elon.
What is the opportunity to read the internet? Are you suggesting we should shut down the internet?
No, but you don't own the internet. I'm asking you about you and your responsibility on your platform. And so I see how you feel now. You don't agree. We don't agree on this.
Yes, you want censorship and I don't.
No, I don't want censorship.
Yes, you do.
No, I want responsibility. I think
you desperately want censorship.
No, if I want a censorship.
You want censorship so bad you can taste it.
No, that's not true. It's not true. I think that there's right and wrong.
And that's the about what censorship.
And I think that when you have a platform that's as big as yours and as powerful as yours and as influential as yours, and you are a person of consequence to the world with what you do, that there is a certain responsibility that goes along with what you have on your platform and what you put out to the world. And I think that's important. You don't see that responsibility.
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law. And if people want the law changed, they should talk to their elected representative and get the law changed, and then we will adhere to the law.
Okay.
But if you want us to go beyond the law, that is us deciding to.
I love it. Anyway, that's humorous. But it's like, oh, we shouldn't do these things. Like, we aren't going to promote these things. We aren't going to promote them. It's like, well, these things happen. It's like, yeah, but they've always been happening. That's not new.
No.
We said we weren't going to promote it. Like, well,
I don't understand that. I don't understand promotion, and I don't understand things. I think when I see something that it should come down if I don't like it.
Yes.
If you
no, some people just don't like that thing. No one's talking about what we like or don't like. We're talking about what we're doing. See, that's the part. The match.
But what he says, he's like, you want censorship so bad you can taste it.
And we have devolved in being public. All right, here we are.
But it's funny though, because he literally said the same thing 3 times over and over and over again. And then Don Lemon asked the same question. So they're just talking past. They can't. I'm not even saying that. I just think Don Lemon, his questioning is stupid. The guy said what he needed to say.
Right. But this was Don Lemon's point. Look, Elon Musk is a bad person. He doesn't agree with me. He doesn't agree that bad things are bad. And he doesn't agree that the things that I think are bad need to be dealt with the same way I think they need to be dealt with. I'm like, all right, we get it. So I think he's a bad person. All right, Don Lemon. That's fair. You demonstrated the fact that you don't like his morals.
Right.
Let us move on. This is supposed to be an interview. He's a bad person. Let's move on. This is an interview. Ask a different question.
And I think he got fired after this. They took him off.
This is no longer alive. This is no longer happening. You were right. This did not last very long at all. You were rich.
That was entertaining.
Like that.
One thing I gotta ask you, man, before I get out of here. Game of Thrones, yes or no?
Gosh. Books, yes. TV show, yes, up until like season 6, maybe 6.5.
Oh,
or
okay.
maybe 7.5. It is.
You read the books?
Yes. The books were great. I really enjoyed the book. It's phenomenal. I really wish he would finish writing them, but whatever. They were good. They were good books for the ones that I've written. The show even was good. I'll even say the show was great for at least 5 seasons. Season 6 was okay. 7 was questionable. 8 was trash. 8 was so bad that it made me start learning about writing. I'm like, wow. Like it's like these people have forgotten everything they've done up until this point. Like, what would it look like if they had just done what they had always done?
But see,
it was really, really bad. Like, it ended poorly. Like, if that bothers you enough, like if you didn't like how poorly Lost ended, don't watch Game of Thrones. Don't do it to yourself. It's a large commitment.
I never saw Lost. And
good for you.
Man, well, see,
for you.
I did. So this is what I do with, especially if it's a lot of episodes. I'm a person, I'm like, look, I watch an episode. I'm the type of person, if I don't like something after the 10, 15 minutes, I'll cut it off and say, I don't like that. I watched 4 episodes of Lost and I'm like, this could not justify 100+ episodes. So I don't want to invest my time in it. But me and my wife just started watching. I think she's seen it already, Game of Thrones. I'd never seen it before. And so,
what you, man? What do you think of?
I'm saying, so I don't like period pieces for whatever reason. I'm not a big fan of period pieces. So I didn't, I went into it thinking I'm not going to like it because we just really came off the heels of Lord of the Rings. And I had never seen Lord of the Rings neither. And so for me, as I'm watching the movie and I'm telling her, it's too many names of things. Like I can't remember the name.
Who was the what and the hows that happened here? Who's that guy?
Yeah, it's too many people and too many lands, and they actually give you the names. They don't say, "Hey, there's a bridge. That's Conqueror's Bridge, and this is the Babonkus Forest, and these are the Gabazian Gates, and this person is Nazareth, and his name is blah blah blah." It's too many things for me to remember. I don't need all this context.
It's work. It becomes a whole piece of work. I'm like, I'm really trying hard now. This is no longer fun. It's like, what do we do with this?
Yeah, because I can't sink into the story. I'm like, well, who the hell is this? And who is this person? So I only got through 2 of those, right? And they long too. They super long. And then, so we went into Game of Thrones. And so I'm coming into it like, I don't know how I feel about it. But then they started off with the White Walkers. And I'm like, okay, this could be kind of cool. That's like the only White Walker material you get for seasons.
Yes, you have a long way to go.
Hey. And so the first season to me, I'm watching. So maybe I'm still skeptical after about 2 episodes. And I'm starting to get into it. I'm like, this is actually good. And then, so I'm telling her, you know why this is so good? Because the people are doing things that make sense. And when they do things that make sense, this makes this good. But then at some part towards the end of season 2, because I had my thing with shows season 1, I guess they like, yo, we gotta make this a hit so we can make a lot of money. And then pretty much writing season 2 as I'm writing season 1, or maybe even season 3 as well. But what happens is after season 2, people are like, we won. We can write anything and people will keep coming back and spend money with us. And so we're going to have 4 episodes that really don't do anything and say anything. Just have people moving around doing stuff that we've done, but not exactly. It looks like the stuff that we did before. It sounds like the stuff that we did before, but it's not really actually anything happening that makes sense. It's people wandering and doing new things. And so
like, these are new settings they could have. And see, traveling happens. And so therefore the plot is moving. Like, I mean, the plot moved settings, but it didn't actually. Hey,
man, I was all in on the beginning. All right, cool. Then I was a Stark fan, an Ed Stark fan. Because you've seen all of this already, so I'm not spoiling nothing. I was an Ed Stark fan. And then he got locked up. No, he got locked up and he did something. And I'm like, oh man, I lost all respect for you. I had a lot of respect for him, but you did something really stupid. And now, and I didn't think he was getting ready to die for it, but I'm just like, I don't care about you anymore because you were tough guy. Yeah, you're not a hero guy. You did something really, really stupid. And so then it's like, all right, well, who can I like? And who I find myself liking is the damn imp. The imp is cool.
There he is. That was it. That was half my reason. That was probably 75% of the reason I kept watching the show, because this was the one person I'm like, you know what? I like this. I like this guy. I want this guy to quote unquote win whatever we're doing here. I want to see this guy end up on some sort of on top of whatever period we have. Let's let him win.
Yeah, because so Joffrey, that was the dumpster fire.
Right. All terrible.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, I guess poor power can corrupt, but
Good. But so can neglect.
yeah.
I think there was some poor parenting there. Just a little.
Well, brother and sister probably didn't start off well. So so probably didn't start off well. But so I go through that, the Ed Stark piece, then we get to Rob. Cool. I like Rob Stark. He's a cool guy. He's doing things. Oh, he's met a woman. He stopped doing things. He's no longer doing things. He's no longer winning victories. He's no longer fighting. He's talking about nothing. He's not even fighting. He's no longer doing anything. So I was kind of pleased when they killed him, because I'm like, you're not doing like,
Stop participating in the show. You can feel free to do this off screen, all the way off screen. Go ahead and kill him off.
right, because you and your mother are out here on vacation. You've got two younger brothers that you don't know. Did you even go back to figure out if that was them? Did you ever get back to Winterfell? You never went back. Oh no, and you heard that your, I guess, ex-best friend has gone and taken over your hometown. You don't think that that's a thing to check on or anything? Oh, and you've lost Jamie. And both of them at the same time, Rob and Jon Snow. It became a love story at some point in time. And I'm just like, y'all are playing to the women right now. It's not about what a man would really do all the time, or a man like this would do. All they're doing is love scenes. It's Jon Snow and the redhead, is Rob Stark and whoever this girl from Volantis, and this whole thing happening with the Dothraki girl and the Targaryen. This is almost not even this show. This is a whole.
They were like, oh, activist. Here's the romance for you for the next whatever. It's a drama. It's a drama. Why? No one was watching dramas like that. Anyway, yeah, they do this frequently throughout the show. Like, it's not just this season that happens. This happens enough where it's like, this is their trope. This is what they do. The writers are doing this on purpose. They don't care about us.
No. Am I watching one movie, or am I watching one show, or am I watching two shows? I don't know.
Wow.
Then you introduce the White Walkers back for like 1 second, and then they're gone.
Just out again. Like, ugh, this is happening. Just kidding. It's not happening.
Yeah. So it's just blowing my mind. Then you got Jamie. He comes back. He's got one hand. Then the imp kills his father, and I get it. One thing, I used to like his father a little bit too, but I didn't like how his father shit on him. The imp's father shit on him. Like, because you all should be getting along. Why aren't you getting along? I don't.
Oh, it's crazy to think how that whole dynamic went, because you're just thinking, like, if y'all just had satisfied any, like, if you could have thought critically at any point in time, you would just have hid your son away and allowed the imp to run the whole of your lands since he was a kid. Like, what about this didn't make sense to you? What are you talking about? It's like, well, he was just so prideful, he just wouldn't do it. I'm like, no, he's too rich. He's too rich to throw away an asset. That doesn't make sense. He would have been like, oh, this can make me money. I'm going to make him dance for his money. He's going to earn my love by making me more money. Like, wouldn't that be the only solution? Anyway, it was so crazy.
It was. Well, to me, it spoke to kings being figureheads. Like presidents being figureheads in this sense. Because the hand really is the consistent character with certain qualities. We'll say that. Right. Because you go from Stark, then you go to the imp. These people have qualities. So the kings, you go from Robert Baratheon to fucking Joffrey, and now you got this little kid. I don't know what the hell he going to do. He don't seem like he can really do much, but I'm not too far into Tommen yet. But, and then the other thing that threw me, man, with the whole Theon, whatever the hell, Greyjoy thing, and the guy Ramsay, 2 is too many psychopaths in the show. Like, I've got Joffrey. I don't need this other guy. What's his name? Maxwell? What is this? I can't remember his name now. Well, Ramsey. I don't need two psychopath killers. One is good. And then the bad thing is Sansa go from Joffrey to Ramsey. Damn, you were attracted to serial killers. I guess he didn't technically kill Theon, but it was close. It's kind of close. And yeah, you mutilated him.
Yeah. Which also was just jarring for the rest of the non-psychopath part of the audience, which is, everybody. We were like, this is just painful. I don't know why I have to endure trauma.
Yeah.
Why am I paying more to do this? Oh, thank you.
Because what was the point? I felt like they just was like, hey, we're going to put these scenes in.
Yep.
What do
you're gonna experience this. This is going to happen. Here, have some trauma. Here you go.
Yeah.
More of that.
Because man, I'm looking at this and I'm like, first of all, okay, he's in there. And then the guy's like, yeah, I'm gonna let you out. Okay. Then he lets him out. Then some other people catch him, and the guy kills the other people who were trying to catch him. And
then really have the ability. What are we doing here?
But then he takes you back to the same place. I can't make that make sense. Like, why did you kill these 3 people? How did you know that this is just, I can't make it make sense, man. I can't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense except if the writers have no respect for the audience and don't care. Once you come to the agreement, they're like, oh, they don't care about us at all. Yeah. They're just fucking with us now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how are they going to fuck with us next? Is it going to be interesting? I'll watch if it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my take on shows. I think once people get a certain amount of people to come in, they're like, hey, we can put anything on the screen now and we'll just make money. This will work. I've seen it happen with Breaking Bad. I've seen it happen it seems like it's happening with Game of Thrones. I've seen it happen with another, because I don't know if I could say The Wire, because The Wire was kind of short and The Wire was still pretty good. I mean, it's only 5 seasons.
They still go. Yeah.
Sopranos a little bit was like that. Sopranos did that.
They did.
What I'm saying is The Sopranos, after a certain point in time, just started giving you stuff. Like, hey, here's some gangster shit. Eat that. It's like, yeah, so, but yeah, because I figured you saw that stuff. I just wanted to.
Yeah, it's true. Thought. There are some things that I'm excited about, and there's some things that I'm like, I could have gone, if I could go back in time and be like, maybe not. Game of Thrones was I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the show so much that I thought that the ending it got was unfair to the characters. Like I watched at least 3 or 4 different alternate endings that the fans wrote. And I'm like, thank you, everybody, for giving me closure. This was what I needed. And now I understand how badly the writers messed up. It's not that nobody could have written this. It is that they chose not to try. Okay, fair. Continue.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It made me sad in my heart. I was just like, this was such a good, there was so much potential. So many good things could have happened. Anyway, I was very wrapped up in it when it was going on.
Yeah, I didn't catch it. Did you watch the House of Dragons? Do you watch that? Or?
I might have watched the first season. I made it through at least 3 or 4 episodes before, like, they're doing it again. And they're fucking with me. I can't. I'm not gonna, fool me once.
It's a money grab.
Look, not gonna fool me twice.
God, it sounds like a money grab.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. There are redeemable moments in the show. If you can find a highlights version on YouTube, it might be worth watching highlights. It was not worth watching the actual show in real time. That was painful. I'm like, I don't care about this. Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. For a period piece to get me involved like that, I'm like, oh wow, this could be good. That was just right. I'm like, yo, this makes sense. This person did that. I understand why they did that.
That's supposed to happen. That's supposed to happen. Okay, this is building. All right, excellent. Yep. So anyway, speaking of good things though, this is not a book. This is not a series yet, or a TV series at least. But if you like a decent book, there's a book called For the Will of the Many by James Isling, and it is incredible. Like I've read a lot of really good books in the past month and a half, and this is my favorite book. And I'm gonna go back and read it again. It's cool. Like the main character is, I think he's an ENTP, and so but he's like a well-developed, mature ENTP, so he actively can control himself, and like the way he goes about breaking down situations and it's like watching Sherlock. Did you ever watch Sherlock with Robert Downey Jr.?
No, I watched the one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Okay, which is a good show too. That was a good one. But anyway, like the Sherlock movies with Robert Downey Jr. have a lot of fight scenes where he thinks through things in a way where you get to watch him analyze things and then watch him actually execute. So this happens a lot in the book as well. Anyway, it's a good book. If you get a minute, it's worth reading, I think.
Okay.
I haven't watched a lot of really good TV, so I can't give any recommendations there.
I don't really watch a lot of TV that much. I'm just catching up on old stuff, as you can see.
That's fair. Did you ever watch Power or whatever?
Nah, I never got into Power.
Me either. I got nothing on that one. People always ask me stuff like, he's the guy from that one show. I'm like, I didn't watch that. Nope. As soon as Scandal stopped beating about Scandal, I was done. I'm like, all right, black shows are done for me. Apparently, we're giving up.
Yeah, movies in themselves, TV in itself it's just not great. It's not captivating to me because I watched one episode of Power and I'm like, oh, another gangster movie. God, I just didn't want to. I don't want to invest in another gangster movie. Scandal was one of those things where I just saw 10, 15 minutes and I'm like, I'm good. But speaking of Carrie Williams or whatever her name, Carrie Asamoah Washington, that 11 Trait 8 or whatever it was with Tyler Perry, it wasn't bad. You know,
that was actually pretty good. You're right. That was anyway. Saw that as well. I was surprised that they got so much of it right. I'm like, this is really a story. You really told a lot. You really told this story in a way that was compelling. Good job. Good job. I would have preferred a lot more character development with the Carrie Washington's character. I like, where did she come from? How did she do all this? How did she get all these degrees? How did she come out of? How did she get put in charge of all this? Like, we're not talking about that here. They had a job. They're gonna do a job. They're gonna do it better than anybody's ever done it. I'm like, okay, still good. I enjoy this part too.
Yeah, it's after school good. This after school TV good. That's because I don't know if you had after school TV, but so it's like
TV specials always had some of those.
Yeah, so, but the only thing I will say is I'm not fond of the way that people film these days. It's too perfect. I think people getting a little too accepting of AI in movies and stuff. It's like, this doesn't look right. Doesn't feel real. This looks too much like a music video or something. Or what my wife was talking about was like this lady was standing outside. She's in the rain. She's not wet. She's standing in the rain. It's like, you should be wet. You're standing in the rain. This is the whole thing.
Yes, right?
Yeah. So yeah, man. Yeah. But that's all I got for now.